Yishun's feeder bus services are messy, but I'm just gonna try my best to explain how this mess even came about in the first place. And is this mess even relevant today? This one is a general statement, but you need to know just roughly. You don't have to know it like specifically, but you need to know roughly which side of Yishun developed first. Like basically, this side, if I'm not mistaken, developed first, and then it roughly became this side ish. I mean, which kind of includes like this side as well, and then it was followed by this side, then this side, then this side, and finally around this side. And then this one is like under construction. Something along these lines. I might be wrong, but roughly like that. And that'll basically tell you how the feeder bus services spawn one after one. And this is kind of in response to the myth that feeder services run empty either for their first half or their second half, basically after the looping point, like during PM peak. So I'm gonna start with 804. Most of 804's demand comes from Yishun Interchange. Okay, not really that, but like outside Yishun MRT, either the first stop or the second stop, it comes from here, and then everybody pretty much alights at, not everybody, but a lot of people alight at Yishun Ring Road, the first two stops along Yishun Ring Road. So effectively, this is one demand pattern. I mean, one section of demand for 804. And then one common misconception is that after this sector, 804 runs completely empty, which is just not true. Because whilst you have uh, 807 and 860 running along this area, if I were to put it simply for 804, regardless of the time of the day, there would be people that are heading from this section towards this section and in between as well, because 804 is literally the only one that's connecting Yishun Ring Road from this part all the way to these parts. And then this one is like the looping point. Because when I observed 804 yesterday, Saturday night, like late at night, it was around like 10:15 p.m. ish or 10:20 p.m. Yes, there is this side of the demand, which as usual, it's packed to the front door. But essentially, people started boarding like here and then here, and then gradually towards like this side, they just started alighting, 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 alighting. And the next piece of information that may or may not surprise you is that from the looping point, like basically this area, there are still people that are actually boarding the bus. And then, as the bus travels here, more and more they start alighting, 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 alighting. And then there are some people boarding as well. This alone proves that the demand of 804 isn't unidirectional by any means. Simply because it not just only links here and here, technically 800 also links here. So people just take either 800 or 804 depending on which side of the road they want to go to. But okay, 804, it's not just demand between here and here, but it's also demand between this area and like this general area as well. It's the only service that links these two areas together. And yes, schools as well, blah blah blah. So this one obviously, even up till today, still has a purpose. Not to mention that this bus stop over here, it's a major hub spoke point from the trunk services like this, for people to go in. So they don't necessarily have to come from the interchange. They could come from the trunk services as well. And they don't just like transfer to 804. They do transfer to like 811's North Loop and 812's West Loop as well. And this is usually PM peak and after when people are going home. You want the evidence? The evidence is over here. Just listen to the ISLink card taps. I only started recording from around like here onwards, and then I took it through the loop. The next two of them, I don't blame you if you think their routes are weird, but essentially the purpose of both of them, this is 800, and then I'm gonna use a different color for 811 North, which is like this. You can see that both routes, they try not to duplicate each other. And it is basically just to connect people from Yishun East, this side of Yishun East, to the Chongpang side of Yishun, and to connect people to the main road, which is Sembawang Road. Like basically it's to hub spoke to the trunk services that are located along Sembawang Road. Like these basically. Why 811 North's route is even like that in the first place, it's because, as I've explained many times, 811's North's predecessor, the old 801, it was literally just a square loop service, anti-clockwise. And yeah, then they eventually turned it into the 811 North loop that we all know today. But essentially between east side and west side of Yishun, like the northeast side to be more precise. 803 is pretty much just a reactionary measure, and what I mean is that the flats along here, they came before like any of the flats along here. So this means that 803 came first before 801. So theoretically speaking, 803 is pretty much 801M in a sense. So historically, there was a reason why 803 needed to exist. It was because of the blocks that are located along the fringe. And then Yishun Avenue 6 along this sector, they had no bus service. But essentially, its role today, it's pretty much a service designed for lazy people. But at the same time, I shouldn't say that because Yishun Avenue 6's bus stop placement is crap. So today, 803 serves this bus stop. Like it primarily serves residents living along like this bus stop, and this bus stop. Kind of helping out 801 at these two bus stops. And it's basically just a quick service with a short service with a quick turnaround. So it's like here, and then there's like a quick turnaround as well. So it kind of prevents 801 from being crush loaded. Having said that, you could kind of extend 803 a little bit, like kind of in this direction. But then again, that would defeat the purpose of like this fast turnaround in the first place. And then 801 is just 801. It's quite self-explanatory. I have nothing much to say about this service. It does its job well. It serves like the people living along these areas. Fun fact is that 801X Feeder Express almost became a thing. But it was later rejected because I think it's like berth space. Not really just berth space, but it's just like parking space issues within Yishun Interchange. But essentially this was supposed to be a feeder express that is like a lot faster between like here and here. without calling, like, all the intermediate stops. Almost became a thing and later got rejected. In the future, there is supposed to be a bus service from Chincharu Bus Interchange, ITH, whatever you call it, to loop around like this area. It's supposed to serve like the flats along this side of Yishun East. How far into the future, I have no idea. This one is actually an afterthought. Because this used to be a variant of the old 804. So a recap is that like 804 used to, okay, technically it exited from the back exit, and then it U-turned instead of going Street 41, Avenue 1, Avenue 6, Avenue 11. So back then it U-turned. And for the people who think this thing was the first ever feeder express service, you're wrong. Branding wise, yes, but the concept of feeder service 298X wasn't the first one. This one was the first one. I mean, there might have been routes in the past whereby they kind of operated like feeder expresses, but the true one that you can actually call a feeder express, meaning bringing people to like the main hub, it was 804A. So in the past, right, there was this, and then the flats along here, they, if I'm not mistaken, they weren't ready yet. I'm pretty sure the flats along here are older than the flats along here. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But essentially, in the past, SMRT, TIPS, they're the same thing anyway. TIPS and SMRT, like Trans-Limited Bus Services and SMRT, they are pretty much the same entity. So I don't make that distinction, and I don't want people to get so OCD over this. But essentially, right, in the past, 804's route is like this. It has to like go through this sector. And then there wasn't like 807, there wasn't 860 in the past. So 804A was kind of like, I think it was like a peak hour service that serves, its route was just like this. It was just a quicker variant of like 804 that eventually became obsolete, and it got turned into its own service, like this. Instead of making it loop like this, they made it loop like this. So it primarily serves people along like this area. And 806 is a school bus as well. And there's supposed to be a future school at here, I think. And then this as well. 103 used to be from Jalan Kayu Terminal, and I completely forgot, but one of like the old 102 or 103 went all the way to Buona Vista. Then it got truncated to like New Bridge Road Terminal, and then after the Northeast Line rationalization thing, it later became like Serangoon to Piccadilly Loop, and then there was like 103W for West Cam, and then eventually that thing got turned into 103M, so it was like Serangoon to West Cam Road loop, and they just consolidated everything and made it so that 103 became Serangoon to Yishun. And why I even mention that is because 806, okay, I know 806 only calls the site in one direction, but 806 kind of takes like the upper half of Yishun Central, and then 103 takes like the lower half, and then they kind of share this sector like this. So 103 gets affected by external congestion, like congestion that occurs outside of the town's boundaries, like outside of Yishun's town boundaries or planning zone boundaries, whereas 806, it stays within Yishun and it's designed to stay within Yishun. And the biggest mistake that a lot of people make is that they use 103 to eat up the feeder services. And this is not something you should do. It's because 803, by design, right? I know it takes the lower half instead of like the upper half, but it was kind of designed to take the fastest route into Yishun interchange. Because back then, I've explained this many times before, pre BCM, SBS routes were not allowed to wind significantly within Trans Island or SMRT controlled towns. And the same is true for like SMRT services are not allowed to uh, wind significantly in SBS towns. Which is like why 969 takes the fastest route. In the past, it was like express between Lentor Avenue and Tampines Interchange before all the amendments happened. 67 is also like that, but that one doesn't count because 67 used to be under SBS as well, and it just so happens that it took like the fastest way. Budok Reservoir Road, Avenue 1, Avenue 5, and Tampines Central 2. Now you could argue Avenue 4 is faster, but the hub spoke bus stops are located at Avenue 1, Tampines Avenue 1 and Tampines Avenue 5. So it doesn't have to be like the most direct route, but they just cannot like wind significantly. And fun fact before that, when 67 was introduced, like for the very first time in Singapore's like history, both 23 and 67, they were from like from Boon King, Serangoon Road, and then they went Jalan Koyam Air, PIE, all the way to Tampines Avenue 5, and then to Tampines Central 2. Wait, I forgot if it was like the old Tampines terminal or like the current Tampines interchange. I completely forgot. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's another reason why 67 even calls Tampines Avenue 5 in the first place instead of Tampines Avenue 4. I'm saying all this unrelated stuff. It's because I need people to understand that 103 has to be direct to Yishun interchange. Yes, midway it's able to serve some catchment. There's nothing wrong with that. But route wise, it cannot wind. It's the same reason why this thing cannot wind, this thing cannot wind, and it's the same for this thing, this thing. Yeah, all of these services cannot wind because their job is just to take people into the main hub, Yishun Interchange quick, and take people out of Yishun Interchange quick. It's not meant to wind. So when you do your like feeder bus rearrangements, you gotta be very careful not to defeat the purpose of like the trunk services, the existing ones. Because I once like asked the question to my viewers saying that hey, what if 103 actually replaces 806? And then the deleted sectors of 806, I would give it to another service, and then that viewer actually disagreed. So now I've shown you in a diagram why 103 cannot replace 806. Like I said something along the lines of like, oh, this side already has like uh 801 doesn't like serve like this, but I think I made 860 apply here or something. I mean, it was just a proposal. It's not like in real life. I was just like making a very casual proposal, and then I was like, why not another service, be it a feeder or a trunk, replaces 806 like this? And then basically my viewer disagreed, and for good reason. But I just wanted to, float the idea out there and see people's reaction to it. And then 860, it's technically not a feeder. I mean, even in the past, it was kind of like a fake feeder service. Now it's a trunk. But this one, again, it was just a remnant of history. It was supposed to be extended to Toa Payoh, but because back then, the planning team were really against like MRT bus duplication, especially for future MRT lines, which is not the current team, obviously, but back then the team was shit, and which is the reason why 860 terminates at Yio instead of Toa Payoh. Then again, if you actually send 860 to Toa Payoh, there would be quite a high degree of duplication with like Thompson East Coast Line. I mean, except the part of Upper Thompson Road in between like Ang Mo Kio Avenue 1 and Springleaf MRT, that entire stretch of road doesn't have any MRT. So yeah, this is how I would like justify that, hey, 860 doesn't necessarily duplicate TEL and it's just some degree of duplication. That's how I would like counter them. But yeah, things could have been very different. Again, 860's current route, it's pretty much just a remnant of history. This was before 807 even became a thing. So why was 860 even needed in the first place? I'm just gonna say it very simply. It's because this stretch of road, if I'm not mistaken, used to have like no bus service at all. I know BSCP also introduced like new bus services along this stretch of route, but this side, the flats over here are actually newer as opposed to like this side. So and then this side needed a bus service to cut it. Back then 802 looped like this. It's the same way as how the current 861 looped, by the way. So yeah, again, historically, this was the reason why 860 was even introduced in the first place. What year was it? 2012? Yeah, I think it was. This one was like the first BSEP service, right? Followed by 116, and then what was the rest? Like 50 and 513. Yeah, I think it's in that order. And again, this one is quite simple. Once 860 was extended outside of Yishun, they came out with 807 because now 860 skips. Now there's a hub spoke bus stop here. So they came out with 807 because it's to compensate the missing link to Khatib MRT, and it's also to bring kind of like the Avenue 5, the lower part of Chongpang. I don't even know what you call it. Is this like lower part of Chongpang or is this like mid Chongpang and then this is like lower Chongpang? I have no idea, but my my knowledge of estate names in Singapore is quite bad. But yeah, it's basically, oh, this is the pivot, and then bring these people to and from Khatib, bring people to and from this area to Khatib, and yes, that's how 807 became a thing. 811 South Loop. Again, this one used to be, I forgot what else merged with 801, the old 801, but yeah. Again, I'm doing this unscripted as usual. So 811 South is actually pretty simple. It's to bring people from Yishun to this side, kind of like the shared sector with the current 169. Oh, by the way, historically 858 didn't serve Yishun Avenue 5. This was before it got extended to Changi Airport. It was like this, like this, and then it went up. And then it went Gambas. It didn't call Sembawang MRT at that point in time. It was just like Sembawang Road, Gambas Avenue, and yeah, Woodlands Avenue 9, 4, 7. But yeah, just a little fun fact, because history is fun. And the modern day bus enthusiasts don't even appreciate it. Okay, but there's this like shared sector with 169, and then basically it brings people along this side to Yishun quickly, faster than 812. And it's also, okay, so this is, again, this one is a pivot, and then it brings people from here to Khatib. Okay, I need to like shift down a little bit. The reason why, I've explained this before, but the reason why 811 is even a thing in the first place is because this road is very big. And then crossing over to the other side, it can be a pain. So there is 117. Yes. But the purpose of 811 along Yishun Avenue 1, I mean, yes, it's a looping point, but it's for the people staying along this side. Let's say they are very close to Yishun Avenue 1. It's for these people to access Khatib without crossing over to the other side of the road. And yes, I know there's 117 like this in the other direction, but again, nobody's living along this side of the road. Everybody lives along this side of the road. So this is the reason why 811 even exists. And obviously 811 is its purpose is to serve Street 81, but again, the side of the road, it matters. So yeah, this is 811 South's purpose. Some people have like floated the idea of like, hey, why not we make 811 serve like Chencharu ITH instead of Yishun ITH? And I personally don't mind that because it's not the first time this kind of like thing has happened in history. It's just that you need to take into account that the main hub is Yishun and Chencharu ITH it's a side hub, if anything. So you still need to call both. It's just that reminder that this one is the main hub and this one is a side hub, and that's all I'm gonna say. You kind of get what I'm trying to explain, right? Without me actually saying it out, right? Going back to this slide, okay, I'm gonna erase 800. Once again, 811 North's purpose, it's to bridge this side to this side. So I have seen people making the mistake of extending 811 like this, like this, like this, or like this, when the purpose of 811 is just to take people from Yishun East, quote unquote Northeast, to this side of Yishun and to connect them to the main road. Furthermore, nowadays you have 861, which I don't even need to elaborate because there's already 861 to Canberra. And then you can just take, if you are heading towards this side, there is literally a hub-spoke bus stop here. You take 811, or even better, like if you're living along here, you have 800, you take 800, and then at this bus stop, or even for 800, at this bus stop, this bus stop allows you to access 965, which takes you to like Admiralty and Woodlands without having to rely on the goddamn MRT because North-South line is crowded. So essentially, this is the reason why you shouldn't extend this thing beyond Yishun, because other services already do the exact same role. And before I forget, there is 805 as well. Now, the reason why 805 gets like sky high demand, except during certain times of the day, but usually it's quite high, is because it is a faster alternative as compared to 812's East Loop. Like, taking 805 here is faster than taking 812 East Loop. And taking 805 here, if I'm not mistaken, it's faster than 811 because 811 South has to pass by Khatib, which is where a lot of people are boarding. So 805 is kind of like, it's a shortcut, but it's an intentional shortcut if you get what I mean. Faster than 812, faster than 811. And obviously, there's another reason. It's the same reason as 811 South. Like for over here to over here, it's for people to be able to get to the main hub Yishun interchange fast without having to cross the road and having to wait for 117. So 805 again. Along the correct side of the road, it's faster than 804 if you want to access the main hub, because 804, again, 804's purpose is to connect this area to Street 41, whereas 805 along this side of the road. So yes, correct side of the road, fast access, fast access. In fact, I think taking 805 from this bus stop is a lot faster than taking 807 and having to like go one big round. Essentially, right, it beats 812, it beats 811, it beats 117, it beats 804, it beats 807 and 860. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It beats like 6 services. It's the fastest option from like the areas that I have highlighted to the main hub, which is Yishun Interchange, like North Point Shopping Center. There's a reason why 805 is so popular. They need to put bendies on 805, honestly. I don't know why they didn't. It's not like 805 has like bendy bus restrictions. Like the roads are all bendy bus friendly, so why they haven't thought of it, I have no idea. Ang Mo Kio Depot, which is meant to be Seletar Bus Depot's replacement, it's gonna get 50 bendy bus lots, so yeah, please think about this. SBS. I'm not even gonna use a map for this. This service. Wait, no, it's okay. Then there is like this something, yeah, something along the, yeah. So 812, in the past it had like a full Hispano Habit fleet. I don't know if there were like 6 buses total or 7 buses total, but literally all of them were Hispano Habits. And I remember its fleet was like, there was like a batch 1 Void, and then there was this one, there was this one, there was this one, and yeah, I think, I'm not sure, but basically 812 is useful for hub spoke between here and here ish, and it's also useful for hub spoke from Yishun Avenue 2 northbound to access here. Yeah, so these two are the it's what 812 is useful for. And this one is not hub spoke, but it's basically for people to travel between this area and like this area in general. Now if I go back to the map, so 812's East Loop, it's pretty much to link the amenities to each other, and then this one happens to be a looping point. School, school. Yeah, that's 812 East purpose. And the emphasis is on over here, because this is what I'm talking about. 812's relevance nowadays, I would just say it's not as relevant nowadays as compared to like back then, because there are currently more alternatives now. But 812's current route, it does serve a purpose. I just wonder why 812 even still has high capacity buses deployed. Like, you don't even need them throughout the entire day. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anything, just increase its frequency. Because I have floated the idea of like 812 being like this and like this before. This is not real. I'm just like randomly proposing something. Although the one downside of this is that, again, I am destroying this hub spoke. If you do what I did, the only real way to like compensate is that I make 812 like serve this direction is like this, and then the other direction, like, you know, after the loop, right, it's like this, and then like this. Yeah, I could make it like that, but I would have to put I know Singapore's like bus stops are kind of small for the most part, and it's not necessarily the most bus friendly city in the grand scheme of things. Okay, but if I wanted to do this, I would need to add an additional bus stop exclusively for 812, like basically like this, and then turn like this. And then like I'm not changing this. This bus stop will still have 812, but I will add a new bus stop here so that instead of like boarding from here, you board from here instead if you are going towards like Yishun Avenue 3 and the west side of like Yishun Ring Road, the west half of it, not the east half of it. But yeah, you would have to do this, which is a little bit troublesome, but could be done. But another consequence that would arise from such a proposal from myself is that 883 would now need to cover 812. Like you just extend it a little bit. You're not changing the purpose of 883, you're just extending it. And the problem with doing this is that this thing over here, I would have to shift it down. Or I could just be like, oh, let's just put a bus stop here. Let's just put like a pedestrian crossing. Like, this is just like they designed it with no foresight. And like it's just an afterthought. So I would need to add one bus stop here if I wanted to extend 883. Because this is a hospital you're talking about. If you are in a wheelchair or if you have mobility issues, you would prefer 883 to call this bus stop and take you to Yishun MRT. And not just that, this bus stop over here, you need this one thing called rain shelter. Especially because this is a hospital you are talking about. Connectivity, no issues, but bus stop placement would be an issue. Like you need one new bus stop here for 812, my new proposed one. Then for 883, you need another bus stop here. The other challenge is that, yeah, there is one school, there's Chongqing High, and then there's like Northland Primary School over here. And in order to restore the link, you would need to do something stupid with the trunk services, which is highly not recommended. If you want to make 852 whine a little bit, it's okay. But you're not gonna make all of these services whine. It's just a big no-no. Because you know why. Okay, I'm just saying, you need a bus service to, let's say it's a bi-directional bus service. Like, it doesn't matter how long your trunk is, but your trunk service is. You would need one service to serve here, like this, and like this. And I think you should be able to turn right from Street 61 onto Yishun Ring Road, like this. This is just one service. Then you would need another service to do this. So effectively, you would need two of them. Again, what is the downside? The downside is that, even though it's highly unlikely, if people want to travel from, let's say, over here to over here. Wait, didn't I just solve it with 883's extension? Okay, but still, it is still theory. Yes, I could extend 883 to cover this area, but still. The most important thing to note is that, let's assume 883 isn't extended. I would potentially be angering residents that travel from here to here. Or maybe even beyond. But yeah, I mean beyond is if like the bus stop placements along the opposite side of Yishun Street 61. You know the ex Night Rider bus stops, Night Owl Night Rider, whatever you call it. The former bus stops, whatever. Like if your bus stops don't have the correct placement, then obviously people would be unhappy about it. So transforming 812 into a more efficient single loop is it doable? Yes. But is the compromise huge? Yes. Like literally, I am literally criticizing my old idea right here in front of all of you. I wish more people can do the same because a lot of YouTubers are dishonest. Like you see, right? Theoretically, it already involves a lot of like work. I'm showing you live like the amount of considerations you have to make before you amend a bus service, especially a feeder service where it's not like 235 where it loops at a dead end, but people actually utilize the feeder service like through the loop, regardless of whether they're coming from the interchange or going towards the interchange. As long as people actually take it through the loop, it's not so easy to change a feeder bus's route, especially when you want to extend said feeder service. Like even for like service 315, they had to like weigh the benefits or downsides of converting 315 from a dead end to and extending it to loop at Ang Mo Kio Avenue 3. Like even small amendments for feeder services, there's all these things that you need to worry about and you need to solve. Although I just want to point out that amending 883, it's not going to defeat the purpose of 883 as long as your bus stop placement is correct. But the main point is that since 861 has already taken off a lot of demand from 883, why not we make 883 a little bit more useful? Either making it loop like this, or if you have another suggestion, like saying you want 883 to go into like Chincharu, like around this area, it's fine as well. I'm just making a point that like 883 kind of deserves a new purpose in the long run, obviously without changing its original purpose. Unless you're saying that the original purpose is so shit to the point whereby I might as well just amend the entire service as a whole together. Like basically what is happening to service 132 right now. That service sucks. Except the sector between like CJC and Bukit Merah. Only when a service like is losing so much demand and sucks so badly can you even think of like changing it. Not in the case of like say 804 whereby even late at night there are still people commuting between, okay, where's my slide? There are still people commuting between like this area to this area. And I have video proof of it. Obviously it's nighttime. There's not gonna be like a whole load of people, but people do use these connections. And going back to like the title of the, I don't know what I'm gonna title this video, but basically going back to the main point, it means that no matter how many new feeder services they add to Yishun, there is still some purpose, whether it's like a really useful purpose or a not so useful purpose. There is still some sort of purpose to the legacy, especially the legacy feeder bus routes. And that's why when you want to rearrange the feeder bus routes, you need to consider a lot of things. You need to consider like, oh, amenities and stuff like that. And to be honest, I think this is the reason why 812E was even created in the first place, like the East Loop. And yes, for you guys that don't know, it used to be E as well. So yeah.